Hey folks, good morning or afternoon, depending where you are connecting to. By the way, if you are joining the live stream, then say something, comment where are you from, where are you coming from, connecting from. Today, we are talking about this common problem that a lot of entrepreneurs I work with come to me with. And a lot of entrepreneurs I work with, just because I love productivity, I love self-optimization. So the common thing that a lot of entrepreneurs come to me with is, how do I optimize myself, right? How do I optimize the work hours, the rest hours? How do I get into the state that is optimal for what I'm about to do? Now, when it comes to morning hours, the common complaint I hear so often is getting to work, getting into the zone, getting to this focused state as soon as possible, but most importantly, as soon as you decide to work. Like, how do you get to it instead of, I don't know, checking email and social media, trying to get yourself into productive state, or perhaps just caffeinating yourself, trying to get focused, to pump yourself up a little bit so you're ready to work on the important things that you usually want to work on right first thing in the morning. So there is a better way, though, a science-based way, a few tools that you can use to optimize this molecule in our brain, also in our body, but specifically today we're talking about our brain. So this molecule that is absolutely crucial for feeling alert, focused, motivated, energized, ready to get things done. We are talking about dopamine. And also on the side note, folks, so many people complain about ADHD and not being able to focus, or not to just get the work done, but also to handle life. And a lot of it has to do with inappropriate lifestyle and eating habits that result in suboptimal levels of dopamine, and then that results into unfocused, scattered state, and very often wasting time on not being able to do much. So how do we fix it? Specifically, how do we fix the morning unproductiveness so you get to getting things done as fast as you can, right? When you decide to work, you're ready to go and you get to it, and your brain is almost instantaneously get into this zone of focused productivity. So there are quite a few things. Let's start with the basic and most obvious one: your sleep. Regular sleep on the same schedule, 8 hours of sleep, that's what you need to get to optimize your dopamine levels. Your dopamine levels are actually very sensitive to the quality and the amount of sleep that you get every night, right? So that aside, let's assume that you do have optimal sleep quality and routine, even though that is also not the case for a lot of people. Number two, in the morning, you need to make sure to get that morning light exposure. Viewing, or just exposing your eyes to natural sunlight, not behind the window or glass or sunglasses, but getting out there, spending time outside, 10 to 30 minutes, depending on how cloudy it is. And I have some fly here, but spending 10 to 30 minutes every morning outside, that is also needed to optimize your dopamine levels. It's kind of like a switch, letting your brain through your eyes know what part of the day it is, that is, it's morning, and turning on, quite literally, production of things like dopamine, among others, that keep you awake, alert, focused, and ready to go, energized, ready to accomplish things. So if you don't do that light exposure practice, what science tells us is that you compromise your levels of dopamine on a regular basis, and what happens is it becomes more and more challenging for you to get focused right away. So if you don't feel ready to do the work in the morning, spend some time outside. Make sure to schedule that before your work. A couple of other things. Movement also stimulates your adrenaline in the brain, your dopamine, blood circulation, all of these important things for not just dopamine levels, but also your optimal brain function. Common misconception is that you might think, well, I need to do a whole workout or go to the gym or I don't do whatever, like this, spend a lot of time. No, you can just do 5 minutes of burpees or jumping jacks, and that would be enough. Just break the sweat, and that's enough. You can do it in your apartment, on the balcony, outside while viewing that sun. You can do it anywhere really fast. That's all it takes, right? So movement, it's essential for brain function, it's essential for health, and your dopamine also is boosted and depends on your movement practice. Especially again in the morning, it's very important to get yourself going as fast as possible. Now, the next upgrade to get yourself into focus zone as fast as possible by boosting your adrenaline in the brain, by boosting your dopamine, science-based practice, very fast. I call it suck it practice in that kind of, toolkit practices that you don't necessarily enjoy, but after a while you start enjoying them because of the effects it gives to you. And it also super fast, cold shower. And again, you don't have to be spending like minutes and minutes of excruciating cold exposure there. No, all you have to do is jump into that cold shower for 30 seconds, as cold as you can tolerate. And what happens is almost immediately your dopamine levels, your adrenaline levels start to rise. And what you're going to feel is you're going to feel alert and ready to go and energized all of a sudden. No coffee needed, right? So what I usually do, I get my sleep. I get outside at some point when the sun is out in the first couple of hours of waking. But then right after I get up, I usually take 30 seconds of cold shower. And if I don't plan to do any workouts on this morning, I just do those 5 minutes of jumping jacks, of burpees, whatever cardio move I happen to like. You can also jump rope for 5 minutes, whatever you want to do. And then actually right after this routine, if it's still dark, if you're an early riser, then you can just get to work right away. And you'll be surprised, even without any coffee, and that is not recommended right when you wake up to avoid afternoon crash. You'll notice how alert, awake, and focused and ready to go you are, right? So just wake up, 30-second cold shower, 5 minutes to break the sweat, and that's it. And then after that, when you decide to eat, hopefully it's going to be soon, eat 30-40 grams of protein, specifically protein-rich foods that are high in tyrosine, that is a building block of your dopamine molecule. So if you don't get your protein, it actually can be creating this state of scattered mind or brain fog because your brain simply doesn't have the building blocks to build that dopamine. So it's kind of like, trying to, cook some meat stew and not putting any meat into that. So that's the same when you're trying to focus. You need your dopamine levels to be high, but you don't give your brain any building blocks to build that high, to build. It's kind of again like trying to build a house without bricks. Another analogy that I can think of, to create that chemical state in your brain that is focus, you need certain molecules. And those molecules, that dopamine, for example, is made of foodstuff, or specifically amino acid tyrosine. And to give you an idea, a lot of folks will ask me, well, I eat my beans or some other stuff like that. Tyrosine is a very specific amino acid that is highly concentrated in animal foods, specifically things like beef and pork and salmon. Also, dairy products are quite good sources. Eggs, you need to eat quite a lot of those. But when it comes to plant-based foods, the closest to optimal amount I can think of, I know of, is tofu. And you need to eat like 100, 150 grams to get sufficient amount. And that's it. Plant-based food are not that great to provide that tyrosine, that specific amino acid that your brain needs to build that dopamine. And my background is nutrition. I'm a nutritionist. I'm also a nutrition coach. And that's why I know better a lot of those things than even leading neuroscience researchers who don't specialize in nutrition, right? They don't know exact specific foods in amounts that each food provide. So I would then, add to your routine some protein, either in a form of food. Food is always better, or maybe a protein shake. And then somewhere in the next 90 to 2 hour window, you can start getting your coffee, and that will further boost your dopamine and your focused state without the midday crashing. And that's it. Again, let's recap. So morning routine to have higher levels of dopamine naturally and be ready to get to focused work really fast. So you get your 8 hours of sleep on the same schedule, you get your cold shower, you get your 5 minutes of movement. When the sun is out, get outside, get that light exposure into your eyes. And then when it's time to have food, have your protein, don't skip it. And then some coffee, and layering these things one on top of the other, you'll be surprised again how fast you can start getting things done. And if you don't do this, actually don't be surprised to have hard times focusing and getting things done, right? It's kind of like trying to build a house without putting the bricks in, having a beautiful plan, but having no resources to make it a reality. That's what you're asking your brain to do when you ask it to focus without providing the essentials. And I hope these folks give you a lot of ideas about what you need to work on, give you a lot of solutions, a lot of tips. And most important thing is, of course, the doing. That's where you get the results. Just because you know it now, it's not going to produce results unless you do it consistently. Also, by the way, folks, these and many other things about focused and productive mornings and days, and also preventing fatigue and daily burnout, all about that we'll be learning, talking about, putting that into practice, discussing that in the free workshop this Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific time. And you can join it by following the link that is below this video. And that's about it, folks. That's what I wanted to share with you today. Like, your brain can work better. It's the most sophisticated computer in the entire universe. But unfortunately, nobody gave you a user manual. And so part of my mission is creating that user manual and sharing it with people as the science gives us more and more clues and research and tools. So do the proper routine for your dopamine to get focused and get things done fast. And don't forget to sign up for our free high performance workflow class this Friday. And that's it. Have a productive Tuesday.